Hello everyone, I'm Dalton Burdett.
I'm Ryan Warner.
And we are the Movie Nights. Well, some of them. If you're listening, it's because you want to hear our uncensored, unfiltered thoughts and opinions about the world of movies. And while we did have a lot of topics planned for today, there's only one important one, and we might spend the entire episode talking about it, and if so, we're not even upset. So obviously today we're mostly going to be talking about Avengers Endgame.
Yeah, obviously. But side note, you might see me look down a lot because I fucking broke this armchair as we were getting ready to record, so it's bothering the hell out of me.
It's okay. It happens, dude.
Yeah. But obviously Avengers came in at number 1, breaking lots of records. Exactly what was it estimated for, and what did it make?
Well,
opening weekend.
Yes, of course, opening weekend. Let me pull that up for you. Projection-wise, people thought that it might have a chance because Infinity War set the new record last year for best opening weekend at 2:57.
And it was, the runtime was 2 hours and 45 minutes.
No, it was like 2 hours and 30.
Was it?
Yeah.
Okay. So, a decently
long movie.
Yeah.
And it beat Force Awakens' record. Now, there was a report that came out, and it was either Forbes or Deadline, I don't remember, but one of them said, hey, Avengers Endgame could make up to $290 million opening weekend if it's not 3 hours. If it is, then we got to take those projections back down. And then it came out to be 3 hours, and everyone was like, oh, well, all right, we got to adjust our projections. And then they ended up being around 275, 280.
Mm-hmm.
But people were still like, oh, it's going to break the record because of the hype surrounding the movie, and that's understandable and all that.
Yeah, of course.
And, that happens. Well, in a literal, unprecedented, record-setting move in opening weekend box office history, Avengers Endgame just blew it out of the fucking water, dude.
Shattered all records, all
Pretty
estimates.
Much. It opened in America and in Canada, the North American domestic box office opening weekend, $357.1 million. That is absolutely insane. That's insane for any movie. A 3-hour film, and normally when you make a movie, studios are warned not to make them that long because then you have less screenings available during the day. Now, with the demand for Endgame, and as someone who used to work for movie theater, I know that sometimes you cancel screenings and put Avengers in there, or
of course,
at the end of the day, you'll add more Avengers showtime. So apparently there were some theaters in major cities running 24 hours, but that's not unprecedented. We've seen that with Infinity War, with Force Awakens,
of course.
even Last Jedi, big movies like that.
And even having movie marathons as well to add to it.
Yes. And, but even with, because, when The Force Awakens, people are like, well, no, duh, broke the record, but I need to put into perspective how much this record has been broken.
Real quick, before you go into that.
Yes.
Thursday night, it made $60 million.
Something like that.
Opening night, $60 million. That alone told you how much it was going to make pretty much each day. Yeah. Like that. It's Monday that we're recording this. It is absolute. I still can't wrap my mind around how much money this movie made. No. And by the way, worldwide, it's already grossed $1.2 billion. Oh, yeah. Marvel has $2 billion movies already. And Endgame's going to get to 2. Easy. And it's just insane. Brie Larson's been in $2 billion movies this year. Good for her.
What a career. But anyway, do you remember when The Force Awakens was coming out? Mm-hmm. When that first trailer happened about a year out, and then about 6 months out, they had another trailer. Do you remember the hype around Star Wars The Force Awakens? Like the first Star Wars movie in like 10 years. And everyone and their mom went to go see Star Wars The Force Awakens.
It was the best thing since sliced bread.
And it broke the opening weekend record, which ironically was held by Jurassic World. So it only...
Really?
Yeah, yes.
Oh, wow. I did not know that.
Yeah. And so they broke... The Jurassic World had the record for like 8 months, and then...
Force Awakens.
5 months, something like that, and then Force Awakens broke it. And then that had the record for 3 years. And Infinity War came out, a huge cultural build-up event, and broke it by $10 million.
Really? It was that close? I thought it was a little bit more than that. I thought it was like at least 50.
Like $10 million. And
wow.
Even then, people...
That's like nothing for them.
But even then, people were like, holy shit, $10 million. That's crazy that it made more, because everyone, like, people didn't even think it was possible to make more money than Force Awakens opening weekend, because literally everyone in America saw that movie opening weekend.
And what's funny is I think Star Wars appeals to more audiences.
It does, and it's more generational.
Exactly, yeah.
And in terms of movies, you know, people have been reading comics forever.
I mean, our parents grew up with Star Wars,
yes.
and then we grew up with Star Wars with the prequels.
And then now there's kids that are growing up with Star Wars.
Exactly. So it reaches to a broader audience.
And now, with all of that in mind, Avengers Endgame beat the Infinity War record by $93 million. And it's 30 minutes longer, which means mathematically less screenings per day.
Mm-hmm.
How the ever-loving hell is that even possible? How's that even possible?
Because there were mathematicians who would literally sit down and be like, "This, if they were to play it X amount of times, they'd have this many times between screenings. This many, like." They literally sat down, broke down the math. I read the article. I can't remember who reported it.
I think it was Forbes or Deadline.
Yeah.
It was one of those.
But they literally broke it down for you in the article. And they were like, this is exactly how much money it's going to make.
Mm-hmm. Around this
much.
And the final estimates came out to around 280.
Yeah.
Like 285 being nice.
Yeah. And it's insane that they were able to break that down and then exceed it.
And then the fact that the prediction was it was going to beat Infinity War by like 15 million was still like, holy crap, that's crazy. It's going to beat it by that much. 300. You're not going to see this record broken for a few years. Someone will break it one day.
Yeah, of course.
One day.
The records are meant to be broken.
But you're not going to see it beat by $93 million. You're never going to see that number again.
No, not at all.
That high. Probably not.
You want to make a movie and beat that record?
If I ever make a movie, I will be happy if it makes $2 at the box office. So,
but no, like that. And estimates said it was going to make $350 by the end of the weekend. Like Sunday, I think Sunday is whenever that estimate was like, no, it is going to make $350, and it made $7 million more than what the estimate said. And usually box office reports come out like mid Monday.
Oh yeah, no, usually like around noon Eastern.
Yeah, noon Eastern is whenever like the weekend comes out.
Yeah, about 9 a.m. Pacific time. Yeah,
we were looking all day because we get all our numbers from Box Office Mojo. Mm-hmm. So we were looking literally all day from the second I woke up all day, and it still said the 350 estimate, until about.
There were no actuals till about like what 4 o'clock.
It was like 4 or 5 o'clock.
Yeah,
Eastern time.
Because they were still counting how much money this movie was making.
Yeah, and it's unreal because like even whenever Infinity War came out, we were talking about like this is unreal how much money this movie made, and then 1 year later. Endgame comes out.
Now, but here's the thing. Most movies drop 50% or 55 to 60%.
Sure, yeah.
Even if this film drops like 75% in the next weekend, I think you're still in over $100 million. I
think so too. Like I don't know the math offhand.
Yeah, but it's still stupid.
I looked at their budget. Their budget was $400 million.
Yep.
One weekend, $1.2 billion. Made it back just like that.
Yep.
Like that. It's insane. Like just the build up to this movie.
And first of all, I don't mean to cut you off.
Yeah, you're good.
That is a absolutely insane budget for a movie. No movie should cost that much to make.
No, absolutely not. But they knew they were going to make their money back, so they didn't care.
And you have to pay all those people
to
be in the movie. Like this and Infinity War combined maybe had like an $800 million budget.
Just for comparisons, because I don't have the numbers offhand, look up how much money Infinity War made in its lifetime at the box office.
Okay, I'll do that right now. But first, before we do that, I'm going to put something... Let's look at the top 5 box office, which we always do.
Okay, yeah.
Avengers Endgame coming in number 1 at $357 million. Guess what came in? Guess what the number was for number 2?
I looked at it earlier. It was less than $10 million. I know that much.
$8 million. Was second place.
That is a huge step down.
And here's the thing. Guess what movie it was?
Captain Marvel.
Captain Marvel, which jumped up from number 4 or 5 to number 2 because people were like, oh shit, I haven't seen Captain Marvel yet before Endgame. And it took only an 8% drop from last week.
And I'm sure like...
And it played in 218 less theaters and only took an 8% drop.
That's not bad at all.
Not bad. That's fantastic.
And it makes sense that Captain Marvel came in second because if you couldn't get tickets to Endgame,
just go see Captain Marvel.
Exactly, which is brilliant that they were able to put these movies in the theaters together.
And they did the same thing with Black Panther and Infinity War last year.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And then coming in third was Curse of La Llorona, also bragging in $8 million, which took a 69.5% drop. That is not good.
Massive.
Yeah.
Well, it's not getting the best reviews either.
Yeah, but I mean, that's its second weekend.
Yeah.
And...
it's a horror movie, so...
one day I'll get into why I'm really upset with the marketing of that movie.
Yeah.
But I won't do it right now.
Yeah.
But wow, we'll talk and see if we can do it on the next episode.
For sure.
Coming in at number 4 was Breakthrough, sticking in the top 5, making another $6 million.
Not bad.
And then number 5 was Shazam, the comic book movie, making another $5 million.
Glad that's still making money.
Oh yeah, me too. But all right, now I'm going to bring up
the Infinity War numbers because I know it is very, very close. Just opening weekend
domestically.
Domestically, whenever we talk numbers, we are always talking domestic unless we say foreign.
Yeah.
So just always assume we're talking domestic.
Or if you hear us say the word billion, it means worldwide.
Yeah. Unless, well, in 3 weeks, whenever we talk about $1 billion made domestically.
No. I don't think Endgame will get there.
You don't think so?
Because Force Awakens has it at $900 million.
No shit.
And that movie stayed in the top 5 for weeks, months.
Okay, so real quick before you talk about Infinity War numbers, do you
Okay.
think this movie could reach Avatar numbers? I guess we should talk about Avatar real quick and like why that movie has so much money.
Oh no, all right. We said a lot. We're gonna get there.
Okay.
First, let's look at Infinity War's numbers.
Okay.
It's total domestic total.
Domestic total.
Worldwide, it made about $2 billion.
Yeah.
Domestic, $678 million.
So it made, just rounding half. It made
more than half.
More than half.
Because 350 is 7.
Yeah. So, Endgame in one weekend alone made more than half of Infinity War's whole like career at the box office.
Yeah.
That is absolutely insane.
And guess what? You want to hear something really fascinating?
Yeah.
Why box office is crazy? Guess what movie made more than Infinity War domestically? Black Panther. Over $700 million.
More than Infinity War. Wow.
Domestically. Not worldwide, but domestically.
Shit.
Because people kept going.
Yeah.
But,
well, that was a big cultural movie.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. All right, now I'm going to go ahead and bring up the all-time numbers for worldwide.
For
just movies in general.
Okay. Oh, yeah. It's going to be a lot of monster movies and like...
All right, no. All-time worldwide.
All-time worldwide. Are you going to do the top 5?
I'm going to do the top 5.
Okay.
Number 5 is Jurassic World.
Okay. Really? Okay.
Making $1.6 billion.
Okay.
Number 4 is Avengers Infinity War. Making...
Really? That's at number 4?
Yep, making 2.04.
Shit, okay.
Number 3 is Star Wars The Force Awakens.
Okay.
Making 2.06 billion.
Yeah. Number
2 is Titanic at 2.1 billion.
Mm-hmm.
Number 1 is Avatar at $2.7 billion.
So that's $1 billion more?
There is $600 million between first and second place.
Okay.
The rest of them, it's like...
Very tight.
Very tight. Endgame will get to $2 billion. I'm very comfortable in saying that. I am comfortable saying it will beat Titanic.
Really?
That it will get past 2.1.
Okay.
A week ago, I would have said it was impossible to catch Avatar. Now, I'm not saying it's impossible. Do I think it will happen? No.
You said Avatar's at
2.7.
7. Oh, shit.
Yeah. Do I think it'll happen? No. But is it more possible now that we know the numbers compared to the projections? Absolutely. But I will say, I am fair. I would even put money that it will go past Titanic.
That's at number 2.
At 2.1.
Yeah. No, it opened to 1.2. It opened to
Worldwide.
1.2 worldwide. Yeah, no, I could agree with that. Like these
Especially
numbers,
because we have movies coming out that are going to be worldwide players. Like Godzilla is going to be a huge worldwide player.
Yeah, of course.
And domestic players like Aladdin and other Detective Pikachu. Those movies coming out, they're going to be domestic. Pikachu will probably do well overseas as well.
Yeah.
But this is still going to be the event movie for a while.
Yeah.
Like for a few weeks.
And this is such a monumental moment in cinematic history.
Unreal.
Yeah.
Unreal.
And it all started with Jon Favreau and Iron Man and Kevin Feige and what he wanted to do. And it's insane like how that room started and what his plan was.
And also understand that producing a movie is one of the most challenging things when you're in charge of scheduling, budgeting, making sure everyone's casted on time. When you're that person who's literally producing a film, and there's way more responsibilities than that. Those are just like basic stuff. And then eventually you hire people to even do that for you because you're too busy doing other shit.
Mm-hmm.
is one of the hardest jobs you can do.
Mm-hmm.
He produces 3 multi-million-dollar movies per year now. He's been doing it since 2017.
Mm-hmm.
They were at 2 for a minute, and now they're at 3. That's unbelievable. And here's the thing. I think Spider-Man Far From Home is going to reach $1 billion.
Yeah.
And that would be the first Spider-Man movie to make $1 billion.
Yeah.
Believe it or not. That's a surprising number to me. But
I think it would ride the coattails of Avengers.
And everyone's going to go to see what happens right afterwards.
Yeah. I mean, you kind of have to.
Because every single movie that's come out after an Avengers movie has seen a bump.
Really?
Iron Man 3 came out after Avengers 1. Iron Man 3 made $1 billion. Ant-Man came out after Avengers 2, and while there's nothing to compare it to, it made, I want to say 500, maybe 400 worldwide, which for the Ant-Man was insane. And then Ant-Man 2 made 600, so it went up. Or either 600 or 700, it went up. So the fact that the post-Avengers movie gives you a bit of a boost, and the fact that Homecoming made about $800 million worldwide, I think it's enough. And then if MCU goes 3 for 3 on $1 billion movies this year, what the fuck? Like, what? That's insane.
Get this man an Oscar.
And one of them is going to be 2. Endgame is going to make $2 billion. And then, Lion King is going to make $1 billion. Star Wars is probably going to make $1 billion. And then you have Aladdin and all the Frozen 2, all these other Disney movies coming out that are going to make a shit ton of money.
Disney is going to be laughing their way to the bank.
Yeah.
But I kind of want to go back to Kevin Feige and what this man has achieved. Like, he started out as an assistant producer in the X-Men movies.
Yeah, associate producer.
Yeah.
He was literally one of the reasons why he was hired was because he knew a lot about comic books and they needed someone on set to help
And just the
out.
fact that he was able to work his way up to this just based on his knowledge of comic book movies and like wanting to really make... sorry, my phone went off. Let me
it's all good.
Turn that shit off. So it's just insane that this man has worked up to this point in his career. And these are all solid movies. It hits. It nails its target. Like each movie is a financial success and critical success. Yeah, they have no rotten movies.
Nope.
We are 22 movies in, 11 years later from Iron Man 1, and just what this man has achieved in his career is unfathomable.
Yeah.
Like Kathleen Kennedy with Star Wars movies, hit or miss, right?
Well, they've only had one financial failure, and that was Solo.
Yeah. But even then, like Kevin Feige.
But even then, they can't do 2 a year.
No,
they can't do 3 a year, let alone 2.
And Kevin Feige is very he is in the writer's room, wanting to know what happens.
He's on set.
He's a very active producer.
But not only is he an active producer, he also lets the directors do their thing.
Yeah.
Pretty much. He understands creative freedom is very important, but he also understands that he has to be consistent with the world that he's worked so hard to build.
Yeah.
So he gives them parameters and says, you can do whatever you want as long as what's in these parameters.
Yeah.
And
the obvious one is Ragnarok.
Yeah.
Like that is the most clear of the way he works.
And James Gunn's Guardians films.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it's insane. And and they're also really good at taking the things that they feel are valid criticisms and working to not have those. Because I remember in phase 1 and early phase 2, they're like, a lot of people were saying like these are really formulaic and the villains are weak. And then now like they had like 4 in a row where the villains were great and each movie was different. Like you got to Ant-Man, which is a fucking heist movie.
Yeah.
And then even all the way through phase 2, it was like the scores are kind of weak. I've enjoyed the scores of the past 4 or 5 Marvel films now, and the fact that they're able to build and do all sorts of things at the same time cranking out the consistent success of their universe is insane. And the fact that he wasn't the first person to try cinematic universe. It's been tried out before, and then people have tried to copy what he's been doing.
Yeah.
And when some people have found success, some people haven't, and some people are working to get it fixed.
Yeah.
But no one's been able to replicate what he's been doing.
Not on this level.
And the cultural impact that this has had. People are reading comic books even when they weren't, and even the people who did read comic books are finally like, oh my god, I've been waiting my whole life to see this. And the fact that it's resonating with people not only of all ages, but of all races, of all sexual orientations, like everyone is going to watch these films. And the fact that this is like the modern Star Wars. It is.
Where's that comic book movie fatigue?
Oh my god, I love. For a while now, they've gotten better. And
sure.
Every year, Forbes makes a joke headline. Like, I remember when Captain Marvel, it said Captain Marvel fatigues itself all the way to $1 billion. Like, they always make joke headlines. But I think around Phase 2, people would always be like, eventually people are going to get tired of these comic book movies and they're not going to go out and see them anymore. And I think one day that will happen.
Sure. Naturally.
Yeah, one day it will.
Like, someone's going to come out with the next genre.
But people think it's going to be sooner rather than later, and I don't think that
Not with these numbers.
Opens up to 357 million worldwide.
Domestically.
And it always happens when one comic book movie fails. Like, there was some idiot when Hellboy flopped going, comic book movies are in trouble.
Yeah.
And then it's like, really, watch this next one. And the thing is, I think it's more people get bad movie fatigue than comic book movie fatigue.
Right, and we've talked about that before.
And we have before. And I think that it's crazy. If Kevin Feige keeps up this consistent success, you're not going to see it for a while. You're not going to see fatigue for a while.
And something else we talked about before, about MCU movies being taught in film schools, specifically Kevin Feige and what he's done. I think this movie, what he just did, puts the nail in the coffin in that argument.
Yeah, no, and even then, I've had it brought up when I took film classes. Like, we wouldn't watch MCU or study MCU, but something that one of my professors brought up, a professor I really like, he was not a huge MCU fan.
Mm-hmm.
He just, they didn't work for him. But he was talking about producing movies. And he said, I don't really enjoy the films that much. I mean, I like one here and there, but, I'll say what's been going on over there is completely unprecedented in cinematic history, and you really need to look at what's going on. And, he said, one day your kids are going to say, were you there opening night when Avengers whatever came out?
Yeah.
And it's like, this is happening.
Yeah. Because I know even now, I've asked my dad those questions about Star Wars whenever he
you were there
grew
when
up.
Empire Strikes Back came out? It's like one day,
with that whole twist with Vader, I couldn't even imagine what that was like.
One day a kid is going to ask you, what was your reaction when people got dusted?
Yeah.
In Infinity War.
Yeah. Because to them, whenever they grow up, they're just it's going to be something that is common knowledge. Yeah, of course everyone gets dusted.
Yeah,
and then of course all the things in Endgame happened in Endgame. We knew that.
Mm-hmm.
But us now, living in this moment, we weren't expecting it.
Yeah.
We weren't expecting these actions. And it's just, it's unfathomable. How big of an impact this is going to have, not only now, but years to come. And I hopefully it's soon, in the next few years, Kevin Feige gets a career Oscar.
I hope
or you
so.
think that's going to happen later?
It'll be later if he gets one. But I mean, hey, I'm hoping that one day he produces a Marvel movie that's so fucking good that he wins Best Picture.
Black Panther was right there.
It got nominated.
Yeah.
And I've heard people say that it is fucking early for Oscar predictions.
Way early.
But here's the thing: if people are talking about Endgame in September, October, November, don't be shocked if it gets that nomination just because of the epicness of it. And also, I've actually seen very legitimate film pundit writers talking about how Robert Downey Jr. needs an Academy Award nomination, especially for his performance in the first act of the film. And while I think it's really early, and while I think you need to have a more consistent performance throughout a film in order to achieve one of those, there are legitimate film people saying, I think he deserves this.
And after watching it, because I saw it twice this weekend.
Yeah, same.
So I could definitely back up that argument. Mm-hmm. But I mean, I stand with you on that. For an Oscar for Best Performance in a motion picture, you kind of have to have it through the whole movie. Yeah. I'm not saying he wasn't bad. He wasn't. He was great. He always kills it as Iron Man.
And it's also an ensemble movie, and it's hard to pick out a great performance because there's tons of great performances in this movie.
Yeah.
Let's go ahead and lead this into sort of our spoiler-free review for the film.
Yeah, of course.
Before I get into the actors, we're not going to spoil anything, but before I get into the, what I liked and didn't like about the movie, I do want to talk about performances.
Mm-hmm.
Here, who I think performance-wise were the MVPs of the movie.
Okay.
Robert Downey Jr., Paul Rudd, who blew my freaking mind with his acting chops in this film.
Wasn't expecting it.
Jeremy Renner.
Oh yeah.
And Chris Hemsworth.
Fantastic.
And Scarlett Johansson. I thought she was really good too. Unbelievable. I mean, all of them were good, but those were just the standouts to me.
Yeah.
And I think that going into the film itself, and naturally we're going to compare it to other MCU films just because, we have nothing really else to compare it to that's unprecedented, and also it's just easier to sort of, reach out to you guys as to, what we're trying to say, because we also be very vague, so it's hard to... But I really love the film. I think it's an excellent film. It did get my. I'll go ahead and say it right now. I got my first A+ of the year.
Mm-hmm.
But with that being said, I think that the third act, the last hour of this movie, is perfect. Like, unbelievable perfection of build-up cinematic scope storytelling.
Mm-hmm.
Especially, and you couldn't have the last hour of this movie without everything from Iron Man to there.
Yeah, absolutely not.
And I think that
you could have Iron Man 3 and Ang Lee Hulk.
Shut up. But basically,
that one was for you, Nick. That joke was for you.
Yes.
You're not here, but for you.
But basically, I thought that the setup was pretty good. And I love the second act of the film also, because there's a plot element that we won't spoil, but there's a plot element that I'm just a sucker for. And as soon as they introduced it, I was like, yes, here we go.
Okay, yeah.
And I thought the first act was good, but pretty much I thought like each act of the movie is solid. It's a great film. Like, it's an A+ film for me.
Yeah.
But there are moments in it that took me out of the film.
Okay.
And it's not necessarily. It basically, this film takes risks with characters.
Mm-hmm.
And there were some where on the second viewing I was fine with it, just because I was just so unexpected the first time.
Yeah.
But then there are still some in the second viewing where I was like, all right, let's, I feel like that choice could have been different. Or, because basically, and then you have to think in the perspective of, okay, they made that choice, but does it benefit the story?
Mm-hmm.
And while I think that an overwhelming majority of the choices they made do benefit the story, I think there's one choice that didn't necessarily benefit the story. And it was just like a choice just to make the choice. And I'm being so vague.
I know. I don't even think I know what you're talking about.
I'll get more specific with you later.
Sure.
But even then, there was something I told you that bothered me the first time I watched it.
Yeah.
But then the second time I watched it, that didn't bother me
Which
at
is
all.
funny, because the first time it didn't bother me at all. I was like, oh, we're here? Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
But even then, because that'll happen on subsequent viewings, especially in a big movie like this.
Yeah, because watching this movie once, you cannot get everything in on the first viewing. This is definitely a 2, 3, maybe even 4 or 5 time viewing to catch everything. Because even the second time viewing it, I still missed a lot, but I got a lot that I missed the first time.
Yeah.
And it's just because the first time you watch something on this scale, it's so hard to capture everything, but you try your best, and like you said, your first A+. This is I give this 5 stars because, like we said, I rate this on Letterboxd with stars. Perfect movie.
Almost. I mean, I just have very few issues with it.
Yeah.
Just some of it is, honestly, part of the reasons I find some just very minor problems with the film just has to do with the fact that Infinity War was so good.
Yeah.
And the fact that they pulled off Infinity War, and they pulled off Endgame greatly. But this is unfair to the movie, but just I was more impressed with how they pulled off Infinity War than how they pulled off Endgame.
Yeah, so Infinity War has one of the best antagonist storylines of all time, because you don't really get anything about Thanos before Infinity War, and then Infinity War is just, you see how emotional like he really gets. Like, you just think like he wants to kill half of all life.
You understand him a lot more.
Yeah, and you're really compassionate towards him. Like, honestly, Infinity War, I was rooting for Thanos the whole time. I was like, you know what? I got you, homie.
No, but also what I will say is, what I loved about Endgame, as well as obviously felt like a continuation of the story of the Infinity War. Every MCU movie's like that.
Yeah.
Like, Captain America 2 feels like a continuation of Thor 2. You know what I mean? Like, not specific, like exactly specifically, but they all feel like a part of a piece of the puzzle. Mm-hmm. So saying that is fine, but at no point did it feel like Infinity War Part 2.
No, not at all. It felt like its
very
own
much
movie.
so felt like its own movie. Now, do you have to watch Infinity War to understand it?
Absolutely.
Yes, but at no point was I like, oh, this is just Part 2 of Infinity War.
And like you said, like, you have to watch Infinity War to really understand this movie. Mm-hmm. They don't really connect it.
No, but what I will say is, this movie is a testament, because this is something that people have argued with me before. Mm-hmm. It's not about what happens in your movie. Mm-hmm. It's about how you pull it off. Mm-hmm. It's about how you made it happen. Because obviously we're not going to spoil anything, but if I told you, hey, this, and this happens in the movie, you probably could have been like, all right, I could sort of predict and see that. But then when you see how it's done in the movie, you are not even bothered by the fact that you kind of knew it was going to happen because of how perfectly constructed it was.
If you told us, if we went back in time after watching this movie to before Iron Man came out, you're like, this is what's going to happen in 11 years.
You'd be like, get the fuck out of here.
You'd be like, no, I read that issue last week. Like, there's no way they're going to be able to pull that off. And please, for the love of God, stay away from all spoilers if you have not seen this.
Oh, do
this
not
is
get
something
for you.
You
have
to experience.
And people are being dicks. People are spoiling the hell out of this movie.
Which is super annoying.
Please stay away from the spoilers.
Because this is something you do not want ruined. Because like you said, you could read about it, you could see it, be like, I probably could have guessed that if I really thought about it.
Yeah.
When you see it happen... Incredible. Because the day after we saw it, I kept thinking about it, and I kept getting chills, and I was like, this is ridiculous.
Like, and all I would do is I would just call people who had seen it so I could just talk about it with them.
But kind of getting into my spoiler-free review, I saw a lot of arguments saying that the first 2 hours was kind of like, whatever. It was very mediocre. I completely disagree.
Yeah,
I think that it's obviously necessary for the last hour.
Now, is the third act better? Yes.
Absolutely.
But I don't think that Act 1 and 2 are necessarily mediocre. I think they're actually very well done. And I don't mean to cut you off,
you're
but where I'll say this and Infinity War are different is Infinity War is very adrenaline-based, and this is very emotional-based.
Yeah.
And the emotional stuff hits you in the fucking heart throughout the entire... This isn't just a specific act. Like, throughout the entire movie.
Yeah, you're feeling all emotions.
And the humor's on point. It's very funny. Endgame is very funny.
Surprisingly funny.
Yeah.
But no, just from the second that movie starts to when the credits hit, you just feel all emotions. You're laughing, you're crying, you feel compassionate. Yeah. Like, it hits every chord.
It acts as an epic conclusion to the...
Infinity Saga.
The Infinity Saga, to where we started off with Iron Man. They kind of put a nice bow on most of the major stories, character arcs that were going on.
It's just... And not only what Kevin Feige was able to do this with the Russo brothers.
And the writers Marcus McFeely. Dude, like how the
like the
hell,
writing, the direction.
How did they pull that off?
It is insane.
I hope they don't make anything for 10 years and they just rest.
Yeah. Like, they deserve it.
Yeah. I mean, obviously they're going to make stuff, but yeah.
But this, like, I thought it was well paced. I thought the writing was great.
I think Infinity War is better paced. Okay. But I do think that Endgame, like, there wasn't anything wrong with the pacing of Endgame.
And this isn't spoiler at all. Everything we saw in the trailers, first 15, 20 minutes of the movie.
Yeah, with the exception of, like, 2 shots.
Yeah. Other than that, you have no idea what happens for the rest of the movie. Because I remember sitting next to you and us just, like, sitting up and looking at each other like, we have 2 hours and 45 minutes. No. What are we going to do?
Also, I felt bad because we kept freaking out and we both realized, like, oh, our girlfriends are here. And then we'd go and, like, because we'd freak out and tell each other something. They're like, wait, we should probably include them. And then we'd go and be like, hey, and then tell, and, like, include. Because I felt bad. And it had nothing to do with the fact that, like, it was just, like, you know, I could, basically, you know, we've been friends for years. And then we were just all like, holy fuck, when something would happen. And then I felt bad that I was kind of torn in between, you know.
Yeah. I mean... It's just something we've been invested in for 11 years, so naturally we were excited.
I've seen every single MCU movie in theaters. I remember going to see Iron Man, and that movie actually has a special place in my heart. Not only because it's fucking incredible. That is one of those movies where I forget how good it is until I go back and watch it, and I'm like, holy shit! This
you know what's really good? No one talks about Incredible Hulk.
I love Incredible Hulk. I don't give a shit what anyone says. You know who? I'm gonna call someone out. You know who doesn't like Incredible Hulk?
Who?
Ashton. Yeah.
Ashton, you're gonna watch this when this goes up. I expect a text for your reason or a phone call. Why you don't like that movie? Is it because Mark Ruffalo's not in it? I bet that's why.
No. But basically, you know, film's subjective. But
not this one.
And there's a lot of people that don't like Incredible Hulk.
Yeah, and that's fun.
Yeah, but I think it's a great film. But that also they're tied together. So I saw Iron Man. It was like maybe 6 or 7 months after I moved to Florida, and I didn't have many friends. But all I really wanted to do was go see Iron Man. Yeah. So I remember I asked my mom and dad, I was like, can we please go see Iron Man? I really want to go see Iron Man. And that was the first time I saw that movie, and then I went to school, and I didn't give a shit that I didn't know anybody. I was going around like, did you fucking see Iron Man? Like, I was going to everybody. And then Incredible Hulk came out like 2 or 3 months later, and because I didn't see the post-credit scene in Iron Man, because like I wasn't like on the
that wasn't a Marvel thing, like not a movie thing,
and I wasn't on the internet like involved with the movie conversation like I am now, so I didn't know. But then at the end of Incredible Hulk, Tony Stark shows up. And I remember sitting in the theater. I don't think my mom was there. No, my mom was there. My mom and dad were there. And I'm sitting there. And I might have stood up. I think I did. When he came, I was like, is that Iron Man? I was like, what the fuck? I was like freaking out in my like little head. I mean, I'm sure I was like, gee willikers, you know.
Yeah,
but I was just freaking out because I was like, oh my God, are they And then that's when I first went on Google and I was like, Iron Man, Incredible Hulk. And then there was a post-credit scene in Iron Man. And I was like, oh my God, we got to go back and watch Iron Man. But it was out of theaters, so I had to wait. I remember waiting to get the DVD of Iron Man so I could just pop it in and watch the post-credit scene. Yeah. But yeah, and the fact that, you know, we've been invested since then and now, and they've been killing it ever since. And we were right about this whole podcast being about Endgame because we're 36 minutes in.
That's fine. It deserves its time,
I
agree.
agree.
But, I mean, that pretty much wraps up my thoughts about Endgame. Like, just the fact that this movie was able to happen. And, like, it's a huge thank you to all the fans.
Oh, yeah, it is.
And it's absolutely insane. Very, very curious. Not because of the storyline, but I really want to see where Marvel's headed next.
Oh, me too.
Obviously, we have Far From Home coming out in a few months. Very excited for that. Yeah. But
I'm very curious.
Phase 4.
Very curious about that.
I thought I read an article somewhere that it started with Far From Home or right after?
No. Far From Home is like the epilogue of Phase 3.
Okay.
And something else that I will say is in the, you know, with the MCU, where does Endgame rank for you? Is it top 3, top 5? And you reserve the right to change your answer because we've only seen the film twice.
Yeah.
And some films on my ranking of MCU, like, it's not till like 3 years later where I bump it up like 3.
Yeah, and then you rewatch an MCU movie and you're like, shit, I forgot how good. Like, whenever we watched the movie Marathon and Incredible Hulk came on, I haven't seen that movie in years. And I was like, that's a good fucking movie.
Doctor Strange, for me.
Yeah?
Like, every time I go back and watch Doctor Strange, I'm like, shit. I mean, I like the first half more than the second half, but still.
One last thing I'll say about Endgame. I think that last hour alone is much better than most movies I've seen.
You're right.
Like, just because you can get the full story in that last hour.
Yeah, for sure.
Like, they could have just released that. Oh my God. Getting chills thinking about it. But, so, Endgame ranking within the MCU. I think it's definitely number 1.
Oh, really?
Yeah, number 1. Absolutely loved this movie. And it's funny because the second time, because whenever we saw it Thursday, because usually we try to go out every Thursday and watch new movies. When this movie came out on Thursday night, our whole theater was involved.
Oh,
like
cheering,
we were
clapping,
into it, crying. You heard everything. I saw it again Saturday night. Packed theater, almost sold out. Not as much involvement. I was still the only one really into it, even on a second time viewing. So like the fact that I can just watch this movie over and over again and still get invested into it, still cry even though I know what's going to happen, still cheer even though I know what's going to happen, still get chills. Just the fact that this movie is still able to captivate me is absolutely insane. So I think that's number 1. Number 2 would still have to be Winter Soldier. Absolutely love that movie. Love it. And it's the first time we really see Cap, like, be Cap, you know? Yeah. Before he was kind of like, do this! He
was kind of a bitch before Winter Soldier, I will say, yeah.
But, so, Endgame, Winter Soldier, number 3.
Yeah, you have to do a whole ranking, I was just...
Yeah, no, probably not Far From Home, because that hasn't come out yet, but Homecoming.
Oh, really? Really?
I love Spider-Man. And that's the first time it's been in my top 3. But just thinking about all the MCU movies, it was between that. Doctor Strange is probably number 4 right now. But like you said, it changes. Like literally, ask me tomorrow. It'll be completely different.
Gotcha.
But what about you? Where does Endgame rank for you?
It's 100% in my top 5.
Top 22?
Is it in the top 22? No. It's 100% in the top 5.
Okay.
Might be top 3.
Okay.
Where? I don't know. Because my favorite MCU movie is Civil War.
Okay.
I have an undying love for that film that every time I watch it, I get something new, and I love that film. And one day, I swear to God, I've started writing a video essay about it. I will get it done, and you will see it on the channel fucking one day. I promise. I don't know when, but one day. Because I love that film, and I really want to do a deep dive into it. Number 2 is probably Infinity War. Love that film. 3 might be Endgame.
Okay.
And it might even switch with 2 with Infinity War. Like, it's kind of right there.
Yeah.
But if not, what would take its place? Probably Winter Soldier. Or even Iron Man 1. And then there's fucking Avengers 1. God, like, it's hard. But Endgame is probably in my top 3.
Yeah.
One day we should make a video where we do our rankings. Like, after Far From Home, since we'll have a year before the next one. But, yeah, it's probably in my top 3. For sure in my top 5.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Solid. Huge numbers. Big movie. Big stuff.
Great stuff.
Great stuff.
Oh, yeah.
Love it.
Great.
Please watch it.
Yes.
And please give all your money to this movie.
Please watch it, and please watch us.
Where can you find us, Dalton?
You can find us on YouTube at youtube.com/movie nights, and you can find us on Facebook at Movie Nights, Instagram and Twitter at nights_movie. And if you're listening on iTunes and SoundCloud, we greatly appreciate it. We also encourage you to watch on YouTube and subscribe.
That was great.
Thank you. That came out of nowhere.
So we're in the end game now, so thank you guys so much.
And we will see you next time.